I want us to start cleaning up the data. I know that there could be very few areas where we have unclean data. So what I'll do is I'll demonstrate the process of how you clean the data. So the first thing you do is you go to your pivot table. So you rush to your pivot table for you to run the data. So I'll go to pivot. I'm recording this video, which I'll also post hopefully on YouTube, so that if you have any challenges.
Your laptop has so many challenges.
Let's just mute our mics for the purpose of the recording. So when I'm in the pivot table, I want to clean data, so I can start with the suspected conditions. So I'll check the data elements. So I'm working with data elements. So I'll get all the suspected conditions, forward them to the selected. Period, we are looking at cleaning data, first of all, for 2019. So I'll do yearly, 2019, 2020, okay? And hope there's no date in 2021. Then I'll go to my org unit. Let me select Central Province and update. So I have to change my layout so that my period can be in the column dimension. So I'm interested in conditions such as AFP. So take note of the following conditions, just write them down. AFP, make sure you check your data. Anthrax, so I've already seen anthrax in here. Then we have cholera. Please, let's make sure we check our cholera. Then we have diarrhea non-bloody, okay? Then we have diarrhea with bloody suspected. Then we have food poisoning. But the ones that I really want you to focus on are the following. So let me just indicate. You have your AFP. Also check your cholera data. Okay. Check influenza. Check your influenza. Check your yellow fever. I don't know who entered yellow fever. Check yellow fever. Ebola, there is no. And anthrax also, let's check our anthrax, those that entered anthrax. Can we mute our mics, colleagues? So you make sure you check these conditions. Hope you are writing down the conditions I'm mentioning. Make sure you take note of these conditions. Then the next thing you want to do, for example, I would like to see which districts contributed to these conditions. So what I'll do is I'll go back to my data and only select those that I feel they have questionable data. So all those which I feel they are okay, I'll send them back. Just leave those conditions which I suspect the data is not correct. Okay? So that's what I'm doing. I can send these back is there any SARS? Okay, there's no SARS. Shigella diarrhea with. Okay. There's no Ebola and update. So there we go. We have our conditions. Now, if I want to see the districts that did contribute towards this, I'll just add the districts. Let me see how it looks. add, yeah. So please, let's take note. Maybe what I'll do is I can screenshot these and also send to your WhatsApp group. So Chiwombo, in 2020, you have 3 cholera cases which you need to clean up. Then you have also influenza in 2020 and also in 2021. That's the Chiwombo. Chisamba, you've also got some errors in the system you need to clean up. So you have cholera, you've also got measles. Just verify those measles if they are true. Then you have typhoid, just verify if it's true. Then Chitambo, you have anthrax. So can Chitambo verify the anthrax? Then you've also got influenza. Can you please check your influenza? Typhoid and measles, just confirm if those. Then you also entered the yellow fever. So Chitambo, can you clean up that yellow fever? Itejteji, you have AFP. Just verify 2019, 2020. Then there's anthrax also in Itejteji. Just verify if it's true. Influenza, verify as well. Kabwe as well. So
okay, go back to the links.
Let me download this, then I'll share it with you colleagues so that you can see the areas where you need to download. Now, for me to clean up this data, I'll open another window. For example, if I'm in Chitambo. Hello, are we together?
Yes, we are together. You can go ahead first.
Okay. So I want to clean for Chitambo just to show you the steps you'll be taking. So what I'll do is I'll come. The issue here for Chitambo is influenza or cholera. I want to see this cholera in 2020. So I'll come to the data elements. I'll select suspected cholera. Then the period is last year. Or I can say, for me to see exactly the week in which it was reported, so it will be quicker for me, I'll select weekly, previous year, then I'll select everything. Then my org unit will be Chiwombo, that's Chiwombo. Chiwombo and update. Then I'll sort to see the weeks. So I have the week in which Chiwombo reported these cholera cases. So the best I can do is to go to options and say hide empty rows. Okay, so I'll hide the empty rows and update. So I have my weeks there. So what I'll do now, I want to see which facility these cholera cases were reported. So I'll come to Chiwombo, select my sub-org units, update. Then I have to change the layout, make sure my org unit are in the row dimension. So I have my data there. I have Mwelebi, Kembe Health Post with 2, week 34. Shimfwankula Health Post with 1, week 47. So if I'm DSO, I'm the DSO for Chiwombo. What I'll do is I'll go to my entry, my data entry up and open it. So I'm opening my data entry. So this is Chiwombo. I'll go to Chiwombo. Okay. So I have to take note of those facilities. Okay, I have Shifwankula and Mwelebi. So I'll go to Mwelebi. So I'll go straight to that facility. Okay, select it, the Kembe Health Post. Then I take note of the week. This was week 34 when this was reported. So I'll come here, select my data sets, ND2. Then I'll click on previous year. So take note, for you to go back to 2020, you click here on previous year. So once I've clicked on previous year, I'll open. So that is week 43. I click on week 43. Is it? No, it's week 34, not 33. So I have to go to week 34, select week 34, then check for the cholera. So you find that the cholera is here. Here's the cholera that was entered under this facility, Kembe, the 2. So now I have to verify, was this meant for chicken pox or it was a COVID? Because there are 2 elements, one element above cholera and 1 element beneath. So I just need to make sure that I do verify. So to clean up, what you do is you go down the 2. Here where it says incomplete, you click on incomplete. So this will allow me to clean up. So I'll click on incomplete. Okay, there we go, incomplete. Then I'll come here and delete this. Once I delete this, then I go back and say complete. Okay. So that's how you clean up the data. Then it means the data process of cleaning is over. The next thing I'll do is I'll go to my other facility. Can we mute our mics, colleagues? Can we mute our mics? Shifwankula, which was in for week 47. I'll set Shifwankula week 47. Then there we go. I have my cholera case there. I go back and click incomplete. Then the system will ask me. Then I'll go and clean up that data. Once I've cleaned it up, I click complete. So that means I have cleaned the data. So I'll do the same even for the influenza. So I see that Chiwombo has 13 influenza. So I go back here. I select the data element, which will be, I remove the cholera, which had selected area. Then I now select influenza. Okay. And update. So it is showing me that this influenza for 2020, the 7 influenza, they actually came from Makoka Rural Health Center in week 34. So you take note of the week in which that error was entered. Then you go back now to, this is week 34, Makoka. I go to Makoka here, to the data entry screen. I'll look for week 34. So I find week 34. Then I have to change the facility here to Makoka. Okay, there we go, Makoka. Then I check for the influenza. So I find the influenza is there. The 7 influenza, the error that was entered. I come and click on incomplete. I go back, clean the data. Then I go back and complete the form. So that's the only way that you can clean your data. So here you can see that I'm only using the weeks for week 20. If you want, you can adjust your period and also add the weeks for week 19 and update. So what's important is that in the options, you hide the, depending on where you have put the weeks. So for me, I've put the period in the rows. So in the options under data, I've said hide empty rows. So automatically when I update, all those weeks that don't have the data that I'm looking for will not appear. So that is what is helping colleagues. I can also say, let me add the weeks this year to see if there are any errors and say update. Okay, so there's nothing to do with week 21. But I can see that in week 17, there's a Mbosha, which has the 12, these are 12 influenza, and Namununga had the 1 influenza. So these will be required to be cleaned. So in week, in the year 2019, there are 13 wrong records that I need to clean. So here now, it is showing me that these were actually reported in these weeks that I've identified: week 17, week 34, week 52. So then also the org unit where these were reported are also coming through. So for even you can open 3 windows. One, where you are going to run the whole data set to see where the problems are happening. Then the other window where you are going to be changing, say, data element by data element, just to make sure that you clean up your data. So we can check for which other district, Chitambo. Let me use Chitambo here. Chitambo as an example. I'll come here. Chitambo also has recorded influenza. So I want to see the facilities under Chitambo that reported influenza. So I come to Chitambo district, select the org units and update. So there we go. For Chitambo, it shows me that week 9 of 2020, Chitambo Hospital Affiliated Health Center, you entered 363 influenza cases. Kafinda Health Post in week 23, you entered 9 influenza. Yoram Manje Health Post, you entered 49 influenza. That was in week 32. Ruben, you entered 5 influenza in week 40 of week 20. So you have to go now to your data entry screen. So if I'm in Chitambo district, I'll just come here and look for Ruben Health Post. Okay, so this is week 20, week 40 of 20. Okay, or even week 9 of 2020. Let me go to the one which has a lot of data errors. Chitambo Health Affiliated Health Center. So I'll come to Chitambo Health Affiliated Health Center, click on it. Then I go to the week of interest, which is week 9, when that error was entered. Then there we go. So you can even see that most likely this data was supposed to be entered under malaria. So in this case, Chitambo, what you need to do is move this data from the influenza to this field of malaria, because you have your data. So it's an issue of entry errors that just need to be corrected. So before you delete, make sure that you confirm if the data, because mostly for influenza, what I've noticed is that instead of entering in malaria, many of you end up entering in influenza. So please just move this data down here to malaria, because I can see that truly this is malaria, because there's even sent to lab and the confirmed cases, which is definitely malaria. So you move this data, you just click on incomplete. Okay, incomplete. Then you move the data, you delete it from here, you enter here, say 80, 97, 186. Then what you do here, you are deleting. You are deleting. You are deleting. So even here, you can also delete. You enter the 363. Then meaning you delete what is on top. Okay. Then once you are done, okay, maybe I can correct for this one. Here it's 39. Here is 69. Here is 76. Okay. So I make sure I delete here. I delete here. Okay. So I've done the correction. What I need to do is complete. Okay. So the data has moved now. Influenza is cleaned. So that's how you clean. The influenza has been cleaned. And I'll show you what will happen. Let me just run analytics to show you what happens once you clean the data. I'll run the analytics. So I'll run analytics. Okay, then when analytics is done, you will notice that Chitambo Health Affiliated Health Center under influenza, it will disappear. So I'll wait for it to run. It takes a bit of time. And so it's still running. So usually when you enter data, that's why you notice that you don't see it immediately because the system is programmed to run analytics at 24 hours. So unless we run it manually, like the way I'm doing. So, but we avoid most of the time running manually because if you are entering and if you've made mistakes, then I run analytics, then it will mean that data. Let me just try to update. Okay, it's still there. Analytics hasn't finished. So make sure you open as many windows as possible on your computer. So if you are using Google Chrome browser, you just right click on one of the window here where the window name is written, here where it's written, just here on the corner. You come with your mouse, right click, then you go to duplicate. Okay. So you go to duplicate. You just right click, then you duplicate. Then that window open. Then you can edit it to what you design. So basically that's how you. So you have noticed, colleagues, now, because I've cleaned Chitambo Affiliated Health Center has disappeared. So even when I come here, you are going to notice that Chitambo initially had 426. So let's just pay attention. At 426 influenza before cleaning up. So now if I were to update, you notice it has reduced to 63. So the cleanup has happened. Those are influenza, that data that was wrongly entered has been cleaned up. So any questions so far? What I've done is I've recorded this video in case you have any issues. You can, I'll upload it on my YouTube. I assume we don't have any questions. So In the same way that we've
Okay.
done.
Hello, Pastor.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Much as we start cleaning up the data, but one observation, some of these mispostings could either be the factor that you mentioned from our data entry point. However, there's also one observation on the system errors where I noticed when you introduced COVID, that's when I observed most of these postings. This is the same issue like I discussed with you earlier. When you introduce a new facility, it also changes and affects completeness. So these are some of the issues also at your end you should also take note of.
Yeah, but the issue of the introducing a new facility definitely to affect your completeness, because completeness is measured on the number of expected reports. So if you initially you had 20 facilities, then we add one, you have 21. It means your denominator and numerator has changed. So that one is beyond us. There's nothing we can do. So what you can do when you analyze your data, especially on completeness, all you need to state is that maybe our completeness, you can do a line graph, because the line graph, I posted a video that shows the expected actual and actual report on time. So you notice that in this, let me just demonstrate. So you notice that in this graph that I put on the dashboard here, as we are adding the facilities, where is that? Yeah. So you can notice that initially when we started in week 1, Zambia had 2,538 facilities. But as we were closing, as we were ending, we had 2,585 reporting. So the expected also is increasing gradually. Okay? So that also affects the reporting rate, because as this is increasing, then it means at some point it will affect your reporting rate. So all you need to do is do such a graph. It will show you how your facilities were increasing gradually, because here it is showing you your expected in this month were like this, but they've been increasing because of the facilities that were added. Then I don't understand how the COVID affected. Does it mean how did the introducing of the COVID affect? I didn't understand that submission.
Okay, what I was saying is that at your end, when you include an indicator, like you included COVID, I noted some of these misplacement of data happened. So I was making reference to the same situation that happens when you update the facility, which affects also the completeness.
Okay.
Even from the previous weeks where the facility never existed. So I was thinking it could be the same issue, even when you update an indicator.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I've noticed these errors, and I'm working on something that will help us to change. So we might revise the two. So the two will have 2 sections. So what we do is on these sections, we are going to have part 1, which will have priority conditions and events. Okay. So these will have the common conditions that you usually report, those that don't usually have 0 reporting. Then part 2 will have the reports that usually have 0 reporting. So once I finish editing this, we'll definitely pilot it and see how best we can help to improve the errors. Because there are conditions like influenza, which you rarely report. So those I'll put them on part 2. and their priority conditions, I mean, those that usually have, that rarely have zero reporting will be on part 1, so that you can quickly enter those. Then those that usually have a lot of, I mean, those that have a lot of numbers, you enter them on part 1. Those that usually have 0 reports, you enter them on part 2. So I'll end here, then I'll circulate this video so that we can start the cleanup. For any questions, just get hold of me. I'll come back later on to check how far we've gone.